You're recording.
I got some, I just put a, Maryland BPS flush.
All right, Philip, we're going to start. We're recording now. We'll call this Accounting Finance Committee meeting on April 30th to order at 2 o'clock to start talking about the budget.
Well, gentlemen, I can hit the highlights, but the details, Jennifer is vastly better on. Okay?
And it's going to be hard for the first few months until we actually know what we're going to
I will
have.
tell you, on the revenue side, you may be a little surprised when you read these capitulation, the recap that Jennifer put together at the beginning, that I really didn't drill the revenues very hard.
Did you
Okay?
say
Sales tax is
capitulation?
down. Huh?
Did you say capitulation?
Recapitulation. Recap. Meals tax, lodging tax, local sales taxes are reduced, but remember, as Jennifer reminded me, we under revenue a lot of those as it is, just to give us cushion to make sure that we don't over revenue and spend too much. Okay? So if you look at those reductions, and their projections, I can tell you, and things can only get done if we got cash. And so our capital project won't proceed on until we have them funded. Fire truck. There's been a little bit of an adjustment because we've been notified that we have been declared eligible for a $50,000 grant on that fire truck. So we would ask for a $350,000 loan, a $50,000 grant, and a $350,000 use of fund balance, which is money we have on hand. Okay? And we'll be there when we include this year's and next year's contribution for
This is to replace
Apparatus.
engine 3.
$750,000 truck. Okay? We are asking, as you know, we asked last year for $3 increase on the garbage rates, and we do have a garbage truck in the budget, and we're asking for the other $2 this year. I know a bad year, and it's gonna be tough to sell, but we've included a $2 increase. Whether that stays or not,
Yeah, but can't we fix that by coming up with that,
Just charging the higher fee
the
to.
higher fees for the
maybe able to,
bigger
yeah,
users?
maybe able to.
How
But
many?
we've gotta buy a garbage truck this year.
No matter what, yeah, you got to do that. Or either we privatize it. One of the two. But
That's an option, and, you know, I probably, Tom, this may be the first time I've talked to you about it, but we did meet with some folks 9 years ago, about a more efficient way to doing the garbage. We did get a lower price from what we pay, but it was once a week collection, and it had to be curbside. They weren't gonna go on property. As you know, right now, we go in people's backyards and jump the fence and get stuff, and at the time, the council
Jump the
chose
fence.
not to make the adjustment because they really like the service of us going
Yeah.
and getting stuff out of people's backyards or in the alley or something like that. And we would also have the capital cost of having to buy the cans, you know, like you see at the beach kind of thing. So we haven't done much with it since then, and it isn't
so
a
the
service that we provide that's tremendous.
$2 increases by how much?
Yeah, how much money are we talking about?
Jen, you know what a dollar brings you? Go back to the revenues of what she's doing.
I think it roughly increased it by 36.
36,000.
From 354 to 390. So we are due a garbage truck. So
Can
those are
we-
two of the bigger capital projects. The fire
Can
truck,
we come up with, do we know who gets trash pickup more than the 3 times a week?
Well, I think
I can sit down and talk to garbage and get a precise number, but I can tell you it's the McDonald's, it's the fast food places
Yeah.
that are going.
Heritage All, just,
Yeah, maybe Food Lion, the Chinese restaurant, places like that, but no, I don't know the exact numbers. She's got them broken out with commercial and all that sort of thing, but we probably really need to sit down with the garbage man, or with Wallace, say, how many times do you
yeah.
do this one on the commercial account?
We're just reviewing this today, so in the meantime, obviously go and try to get some of that data.
Well, I can show that commercial garbage customers Dan or Wallace.
Yeah, and just get them to check off which one's more than once a week or whatever. Yeah.
Trying to see how much, I don't know, it's gonna be hard to get $36,000 though.
I have to go back and look at that thing that I proposed and see what,
Yeah.
what the numbers would be.
Obviously, if you get more service, you should pay more, I think. I mean, alright.
Well, the big expenditure would be, I think what, I wanna say that it was, we were giving them 2 times. Yeah, that was part of the thing, but if you went over that,
Correct.
then it would be exponential.
We're getting some of them every day.
Right, I know, so if you go, you get your 2 and it's $45 and whatever it was for the bigger users, and then, so if you go 3, it would be an additional.
And it also
$15.
should
Go
count
4, it'd be
on amount of dumpsters, not how many tips, but it should be on how many dumpsters you have as well. If you've got 6 dumpsters and you're only paying one $30 charge or whatever it is,
I know one restaurant's got 3 dumpsters, and one of them's a 10 cubic
Wow.
yarder that we had to buy.
I mean, it's not fair for everyone else to foot the bill.
Right.
So-
Now, I don't know how do you figure, like us, we use a dumpster that Win Furniture.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's,
I can tell you definitively how to reduce the number of collections.
We put 1 bag of trash.
Very simple. We could reduce the number of collections by 2/3 on most of these larger customers if they participate in recycling. The cardboard boxes is what's filling up these bins. And I give a shout out to Blackstone Emporium. They've started carrying the cardboard over there, and the dumpster sites have been much better. Beth has really been helpful with that, because we struggled with that for many years. And we asked Beth not too long ago, and she agreed, and they are doing much better about taking cardboard boxes. But cardboard boxes is the reason for the multiple pickups, not just the regular trash.
well, when we figure out how many people get more than 3 per week, also figure out how many dumpsters are we actually, because that should count too. If you've got 3 dumpsters and you're only getting it 3 times a week, to be honest, I still think you should pay, that fee is for 1 dumpster, I would think.
We'll check it out. But we gotta either increase revenues or be net neutral, whatever.
No,
we
I
come up
understand, yeah.
with. Airport revenue, we're seeing less traffic out there, and I don't know if that's a trend or typical or
That military.
military traffic. That's 95%.
Military fuel. Well, it's partly because all their
Shut down.
training has been on the internet for the last 2 months.
I
Plus,
got a
we don't-
feeling
I mean, that doesn't affect the general budget.
All it
I
would
guess.
do is affect any capital project, and we've done a bunch out there this year, so we probably won't be doing a whole lot next year. In fact, I don't think there's anything in the budget for capital.
Okay.
Electric fund balance, if you remember, on the GDS documents, we have a true up, okay, where they undercharged us $362,000.
Yeah.
And this year, they want it back in the months of July, August, and September. We have $1.5 million in reserves, and I propose using that fund balance, a portion of that, to pay that true up. Okay, because it's one time, it's not ongoing, we don't have to come up with it every year, it's just one time.
If you were to break that down for the consumer in Blackstone to be able to get an idea, if we actually pass that on, what % increase would you see?
Well, we sell about $4.5 million worth of electricity a year. Is that correct, Jennifer? Our revenues?
Yes.
About 4.5. Okay. So that would be less than 10%. That would be, well, you can see what that GDS increase is.
Yeah.
When they see it, what was it, 7-8%?
So, I mean, you figure we're gonna eat technically an 8% increase. We're eating,
But the reason it's okay, I think.
because it's one
One
time.
time. Yeah.
Correct.
If we had to eat it every year, I would probably say maybe 1 year, but don't keep
Yeah.
on doing it.
No. Alright,
Now, we are gonna wait until the 1st of June to get the final numbers. This is what they proposed to us most recently in January, and so we'll take another look. The 1st of June, they've gotta give us the final rates, okay? I don't expect them to go up, and as you know, the fuel adjustment has already dramatically decreased, and people will see a reduction in their bills because of that. Okay. Water sewer fund balance, $77,000 for centrifuge replacement. This is a project we put off because we had to do some work at the water intake at the reservoir. One of our pumps had gone bad and we had to rebuild a pump. And that was $24,000. And this $77,000 project is a control panel. I think council had already voted to do it at one time.
It's been a while.
And I've just put it off because I don't want to get in too far on cash. So that's why it's showing up again in next year's budget. The centrifuge is like a big salad spinner that spins the liquids out of the sludge and creates it in a cake form so they can be disposed in the landfill. It's still gross, but it's not liquid. It's
That's
looks like
good. That's good garden stuff right
potting
there.
soil.
There's no state funds we can go after to assist us with that at all.
For the centrifuge, I may be able to use some of this federal money from RD. I may be able to use some of that if we have it left over in the project, but that'll be a year and a half before I know I got any left over. So,
Can you
we're gonna
re?
use fund balance, because we have some sewer reserve monies that we will apply to it. This is probably why the police department's here, but this budget does not reflect a cost of living increase at this time. Nothing across the board, okay? However, before we adopt this, I would like to have a better feel for the numbers, because I would like to work on police department, but I would like to work on the town. It just may be a bad time to do such a thing. I hate to tell you,
Oh,
it
wait.
just, the world has changed, and,
But a lot can change also in the next month that we're working on this. So that's why it's going
That's
to be
why
one of
this
those.
budget-
The whole budget is going to be very fluid up until the last minute this year.
this is not gloom and doom, because I hope things start to get better by July.
Yeah.
Because if it ain't better by July, woo, it's gonna be a mess, so, or at least improving or on an upward trajectory. We've reduced overtime for everybody, okay, because we've been working some partials. The police department has a little bit of an exemption on that, because our goal again is to keep 2 officers on duty at any time, so if somebody's sick or has, daggone court or vacation time or whatever, the chief is, entitled to do some overtime for that.
We have one in the academy be out in June. Dropped out.
Yes, sir.
They send them home.
Yes.
Not for bad things. They send them home because they're not doing
Oh,
training right now.
So
They're
they-
not in session.
Gotcha.
They have suspended.
So as of July, we still will not have an extra officer.
And he will have 3 months of field training after he graduates.
Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong to get
Okay, that worried me. I was like, hold on.
They'll go back in session in June, I believe.
2nd of June.
I don't know the exact date. I know it's in June.
So overtime is a no-no. Okay. And again, the police department is entitled in order to keep 2 officers on duty all the time. G&A allocation. G&A allocation, if you don't remember, is the amount of money that our utility departments pay back to the general fund to cover the costs of the ladies' salaries that collect them, Brenda, who are paid out of administration, and then our utility departments pay us back for producing electric bills, producing water and sewer bills, reading meters, all that sort of thing. And that went up based on salary increases. And I think Charlie may have had something to do with that, Jenna?
His just got, his impacted the individual funds where he split, so electric salaries kinda went down, so he really didn't impact this. This is strictly, cause last time, I think we looked at G&A was in FY like 18, so we've had a few cost of living since then, so plugging in everybody's salaries, the same people, the same contribution to the utilities. This is the number we came up with.
This is probably not gonna be super popular, but there is a decrease to DBI because we don't have an executive director. We had recommended a decrease last year, a small one, like $6,000 or something like that, to get us to the 60-40 ratio. But since we don't have an executive director, I didn't budget in a full position for him. Okay. That can change, that can be fluid, but
Yeah.
what we're presenting to you does not reflect, it still reflects operational costs, that you can do some things and that the organization isn't hamstrung, but it doesn't have salaries.
The aid that we propose to offer to restaurants, we use some of.
We've used 3. I've been told no by many restaurants.
Well,
Several of
because
the
they're
restaurants in
getting,
town, because the PPP.
they're getting PPP and
A
that
lot
they don't
better
have to
deal.
pay back.
They don't have to pay
So
back. So I've had several of the restaurants. We've had 3 accept, and I've probably hit another 4. Say, I think we'll ride this one out and see what we do.
Does Taylor know about that?
I have not talked to Taylor about that. I would like to present to council first, and then I'll call Taylor. And Taylor's a friend, and he's good to us, and we want to make sure he understands. But
Where are they at with hiring a new person?
I think they've advertised, but have not found anybody in the pool of applicants at this time.
I'd heard they had like maybe 5 or 6.
I think they've gotten some applications, but I don't think they're prepared to move forward at this point. Health insurance went up a little bit. Versa liability and workers' comp obviously went up a little bit. You can see employer contribution rate. I'm not proposing to do weatherization in this upcoming budget.
Just because of the time, yeah.
Just timing. You know, we're doing so many stinking houses now, and we're really pushing as it is with the East End project. And time being what it is, I'm gonna ask. That's really, I think it to be somewhat essential, but I can't justify that it patches potholes or picks up trash or any of that kind of stuff. So we are putting off weatherization. Jennifer's got a calendar there, and you can see some additional summaries for each of the funds. And, I hope the staff in attendance understands it's just a fluid situation right now with salaries. So,
That's not what I'm
oh,
here. Well, just in case the council had questions for the police department, that's the only reason why I was here.
I will tell you too that police cars, we've got 3 ordered
The cars or SUVs?
SUVs. They're all 3 SUVs. 2 are ordered and are at Sheehy or Richmond Ford or whoever the state dealer was. They have been delivered and they're being upgraded now or upfitted with all the police package. We have a 3rd one that is the replacement for the one that was wrecked at the school. That's been approved by USDA and that should be forthcoming. And the what else? Police department? Anything? I don't think there's anything else capital-wise that I can think of. I haven't gotten any indication that any of their federal or state funding is going to be reduced. They receive a pretty good-sized thing called a burn grant, which is almost $90,000 a year, and I haven't had any indication that that's going to be decreased, and that's for equipment purchases and that sort of thing. Okay. So big projects. Fire truck.
Or
I don't
garbage,
think they're going to put up off the fire truck for another year. So
garbage truck?
garbage truck.
Yeah, if you see on page 5, you've got
South.
capital items.
There you go. She's got a recap, but South Main Street
Is that in front of Jerome Wilson's building?
in front of Jerome Wilson's building. We were planning to do it this year, but I'll be honest with you, I got a little curve thrown at me. They're going to need some additional right of way. And as busy as we were, I said just drop it and we'll do it next year as VDOT has scheduled for us to do it. So we will still be meeting VDOT's schedule. The second phase of that ball field, which I am optimistic we'll be able to do next year, but as slow as that first one went, it may be next year before we even do it. to tell you the truth. Okay.
So you've got dump truck purchase?
Dump truck purchase, we had the one burn up.
That's strange.
We received 21,000 and some change.
What do we pay for that at auction?
What do we pay for that dump truck?
Yeah, we got it at auction.
I'm not even sure we got it at auction because they bought it up there at Motley's.
Yeah.
They bought 2 of them together, and it was less than 21,000. Dramatically less. It was about 5.
So your $50,000 price, is that going to Motley's as well?
It would be buying a surplus one.
Usual. Okay.
Dump trucks, we don't use them that much, and we
Except
tear
for
them up terribly.
Fall, you do in the fall a lot.
Push snow with them, and we've got 2 to push snow with. We tear down houses.
I was gonna say,
But you know, I could get Robbie Daniel to bring that big old gondola truck too, and I mean, we may be able to do that. The dump truck we've been messing with for a long time, but we got $21,000 back in insurance money to it, and then there's the additional. East
Yeah,
End,
I can tell you the fire truck purchase will happen, I would think this year, because I've seen it all over the fire department page, drawings and outfitting it.
Dion and I have had a couple conversations, and our goal had been, my goal initially was to get the last fire truck paid off before we took on the debt, because it'd be $350,000 loan to get the other one paid off in 2024. That fell out of favor at some point, so I think in sitting down and looking at the schedule, I don't think we'll get it mid-year. It'll be late next fiscal year or even early in the following fiscal year. We're just making an expectation that it will be delivered before July of '21. Okay? But they're planning on, as you know, doing the drawings and bidding, and I think Dion's expectation is that the order would go in like this fall. Okay? East End, we're hoping for $1,250,000 housing grant, and that would be about $800,000 of it for housing, with the difference going to stormwater curb gutter in the neighborhood. All right. We finished with USDA today, and indeed, we have been approved for the refinancing of the existing debt with Benchmark for long-term financing. We already had the short-term or interim financing handled with VML Vaco, but the long-term, Jennifer and I had a conference call with USDA today, and it's been locked in at a 40-year 1.375 rate. When we go to closing after construction, they will give us the rate, the lower of the two, at the time of closing, or the 1.375, but it will not be over 1.375, which is, we had started at 1.7 is what I was expecting, so it was a pretty good lick. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Looking at our actual payments, our payments are going to go down, from what I can see, about $20,000 a year. But we'll do the new project and refinance the old, and our payments will still go down 20 grand a year. Now, you're doing it for 40 years rather than 20, so you got a big interest cost. And there's nothing wrong with trying to pay it off, but we have higher interest stuff that I would pay off first if you're going to put some money to something. So in the meantime, Jennifer and I have talked a little bit, and we want to try to get some of these, because we've got these new police cars coming, we've got, the skid steer coming, this fire truck. We want to clear the deck of some of our existing loans with the USDA. So it looks like we're going to try to chip away at some of the higher, because those interest rates are in the threes. And we're going to try to get those knocked out as much as we can to free up monthly payments so we can revert them to the new police cars and the fire truck.
I see, obviously, we've already voted on the transportation bus. But if they reduce our services, if they reduce,
I will tell you, and I don't have the documentation to share with you yet, and I will bring it to you at the May meeting, but the federal government has been very kind to transit systems in the past few months. And it appears there will be an appreciable grant, 6 figures, that will offset operating costs. So we may come out to the point where we don't make any contribution, or we'll have to make no contribution locally toward the bus system this coming year. Okay. Let me get all the paperwork together for it, but I think it could be as much as $400,000.
Yeah, Josh said, that the grant is supposed to take the place of any local contribution. So, he needs to get me official documentation, because you guys already voted on the bus budget
Correct.
earlier in the year, and I get it, it's changed. I gotta check with him on
We gotta get more detail.
process it, like, this is exactly what y'all had adopted earlier.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be in the good.
yeah, well, that's good.
So I just gotta see logistically, what does he need us to adopt? The one you guys passed at the beginning, or make the adjustments?
Okay.
Now, we'll tell you, everything is predicated on cash. How much you
Yeah.
got? Before you buy a garbage truck, you have money to buy the garbage.
And that's all predicated on how much do we receive from utility bills and,
So even though we may have still a fairly optimistic outlook on capital projects, they don't start until the money's in the bank.
yeah,
Okay. We anticipate being able to finance these, but like a garbage truck, that may be in May next year before we can get close to ordering it, because we gotta put cash aside
Yeah.
for however long to put enough money in there. In this fiscal year, I expect to purchase the digger derrick truck. And that digger derrick truck is for the electric system, it's in the current budget.
is that where you have bucket truck contribution, or is that
That's-
separate?
That's separate, because we're gonna start putting money aside for a new bucket truck, so we don't have to borrow the money.
I think the digger truck is in this fiscal year we're currently in.
Gotcha,
Dan had given
okay.
me the PO request, and I think he's gone through NJPA and the public procurement stuff, but I've held off for a while, and we'll probably make that order in this fiscal year in June. Okay. We'll have have all the cash, that'll be 100% cash purchase. Going back to the East End money that we closed on recently on the capital side, keep in mind, the new borrowing is $1.6 million. However, about 800 or half of it is water and sewer in the neighborhood, East End neighborhood, phase 2. Okay. About four, and I'm breaking it down pretty general numbers here, and about a quarter of it, $400,000, is earmarked for the replacement of sand, media, and filters at the water plant. Okay. And the remainder of the revenue, whatever's left over, will be for the replacement of all water meters in town so that we have a remote read system just like we do for and I expect to have that project broken up in a couple pieces, and logically we will probably get started on the water filter replacement, which is most priority, as soon as possible. The second part that we would take on would obviously be East End, water and sewer, and then the meters would be the difference. Whatever's left in the project after we get the bids back would be applied to them, which we expect to be about $400,000.
So the overall budget is increased, I see, $1,569,000.
I think she's got a notation there that is the East End project.
The East End project is, what's that total, the East End?
For
The East End.
The phase 2. What was the total amount?
1.625, so where we made the cuts, where we could, and the difference.
All right.
And time will tell. We still got a couple months to look at this. Let's look at our sales taxes.
Yeah.
That's a big lift for us, you know, I want to take a look at that.
Yeah.
But Walmart's been going great guns.
Meals tax, that's
I'll
going,
tell you,
Meals taxes.
Win
probably-
Furniture, I mean, because I went in there, I bought 2 things from there in the last month. And I was in there talking to them, and they said, man, we are having like gangbusters.
Really?
This is the best we've ever done.
People get those checks
And
from
I
the
said,
federal
yes,
government?
because everybody's sitting around at home going, no, we need a new cat.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause that's
That
what
dishwasher
we
looks
did.
like hell, man.
So, you know, so they said they're making,
So let's see what we've got. This is not a totally pessimistic. It is a reduction in revenues for obvious reasons, but it's not a complete gloom and doom that we're in the midst of a major depression or anything like that. So, and again, cash dictates how quickly we move on any of our projects. Okay. If we do have some cash available and things do start to turn around and we don't have 20% unemployment rates and all those kinds of things, I would like to counsel the committee to consider salary adjustments for certainly the police department. And we did a lot in the town employees, and I would ask if you were to make adjustments in the police department and steps and that sort of thing, because most of the employees, many of the employees in administration and the streets got a pretty good bump last year, if you remember. And I wouldn't ask for a wholesale change there. Maybe we do something more in the line like across the board for the general folks, and then for the police department, maybe something more reflective of what is our competition, in Nottaway County and that sort of thing. So we want to see adjustments there. But if we could make sure that we don't have a morale issue where some are winners and some are losers. And
did we ever pay for that comp study, or did we end
We
up
did
giving
not.
that? I remember you said it wasn't satisfactory.
it was supposed to be done in December, and I think they were still quite far behind. The county didn't turn in some information. We finally got Ronnie to give that to them. I think they were still struggling with some of the Fast C numbers, and it had gotten too late in the budget. And time being what it was, we called Baker Tilly and said, we're gonna pull the plug on this. So no, we did not pay for it. They had not completed the project.
And I know that's one-time money, but I mean, hey, it could be something that we could use for a one-time possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's cash.
Yeah.
Cash, if the cash is available. And, one of the other options could be maybe a bonus,
Yeah.
so you don't have the benefit side of it. I would ask if we, as we complete this process in the next couple of months, we could keep that in mind. I would like to see try to get the cops competitive with the county at a minimum. With Nottaway County, I don't know if we can keep up with the Joneses and Powhatan and Dinwiddie counties, but certainly be across the board so we don't have an outflux of employees. And the county has given And Ronnie Rourke indicated to me that salary increase was only good for 6 months until the end of the fiscal year. But I dare say the county's not gonna take it away. I haven't heard that in the paper. Have you heard anything to the contrary? I'm gonna assume it's gonna stay.
All I've heard is that they're gonna provide funding for 2 additional officers.
For the resource officers,
No, to have or deputies at
Two
all
more
times,
road
Yeah.
deputies.
24 hours a day.
Oh, really? Okay. So I would like to do that, and I had asked, as you do that, also maybe something more akin to across the board with the other employees.
So outside of that, I think your biggest things that we need to work on numbers is the garbage. I think that to the general citizen of Blackstone, that's gonna be the biggest thing in the budget. So we need to try to work on figures for that. Tom, you've got some figures, bring those and try to see what we can come up with.
Maybe we can meet back like the week of May 11th, so then we can work out, so
Yeah.
hopefully, I'd like at the May council meeting to present them with what you guys, of course, any other last minute changes
Yeah.
in June, but, one thing I did leave out that Jennifer reminded me, the planning commission compensation. Did you guys still wanna do that? And I'll just.
Yeah, didn't we say it was like $50 a meeting or something like that?
Yeah, I think it netted like 2,000 a year or something,
I mean-
however many meetings. I guess I'll just add that to the
We don't
council
meet every
discretionary.
month, we probably meet every other month.
She was
Yeah.
saying possibly 6 meetings a year
6 a
at
year.
the max. So I did leave that out, but if you guys are in agreement, I'll add that in.
And if you abstain from voting on the planning commission, I don't think you should get paid.
Whoa. Yeah, geez, man.
Sorry.
Oh,
And then Jennifer gave me 2 other items. Do you want these top 2? Something about minimum fees on utilities and then the reopening.
Yes, we need to
Yeah,
talk about the
maybe-
policy. We need to figure out
and the minimum bills, you know what Jenny Davis.
Jenny Davis Bun.
Bun had brought up?
What is that?
I think you simply have to, I
You
mean,
can cut off your power, and that's another option that you can do. But I said something incorrect to you guys last month at the council meeting, and Dan corrected me. You watch the video. And I said that our general commercial customers already receive their first 20 kilowatt hours free. The truth is, it's the first 20 kilowatts, not kilowatt hours, which is more. Okay? So we would like to clarify that, but a commercial customer already receives the first 20 kilowatts of power at no cost. And we don't charge them anything for that. Why that is, it's not this council or the one previous, it's historical. It's been like that for as long as I
Yeah.
can remember. Okay? So some folks were talking about, the town getting, but the town also every month for commercial meters provides 20 kilowatt hours. 20 kilowatts.
what does that equate to in a general? I mean, I have no clue.
How's that?
Let me get an average bill and I'll tell you. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
find a utility bill or look at your utility bill. That's kilowatt hours is how it's gonna be broken out. So I'd have to do a little calculating.
I'm just
Say what
curious
the
as
percentage
to,
would be.
is that giving helping the businesses out, giving them a free what percentage per month is?
I'll have an answer for you. But it is kilowatts, not kilowatt hours.
I just feel like, even if you've got your power on, we've got to charge something simply because you look in the capital project of the electric right now, line replacement. We've still got, stuff to do.
I think they were saying they have the option of turning it off and then reconnecting
Yeah.
it for like $10.
You can turn your power off. I mean, you don't.
Yeah.
So then you wouldn't pay the minimum.
You don't pay the water too.
Yeah, line replacement right now, $105,000 for depreciation expense. So, there's expenses that even if you're not using power,
And I would say your depreciation cost that you're gonna see in your audit for electric will be higher than that. It was 145 this year, and we're only budgeting 105 to cover cost.
Yeah.
All right. And we're gonna do some work at the, this current fiscal year. I think Dan's planning on doing replacing some equipment at the, transfer station.
that doesn't even include, like you said, the digger derrick this year, the bucket truck this coming year.
I will tell you too, in working on this East End project, Farmers Home requires a lot more data and a lot more detail when they do their projects. You can go to Virginia Resource Authority with far less energy or effort and get projects, but the federal government is much more meticulous about the controls that they put on. One of the things they did come up with is that they do have a reserve requirement. And for this project, they estimate that the maintenance just on this work that we're doing would be $164,000 annually. So I can tell you, we're over $600,000 in the audit for the whole system. So another goal, another target, but until we can fully finance it, it's just not doable. Sadly, we're still borrowing money to do typical capital maintenance projects.
Yeah.
New
Things
sand
we should be
filters.
budgeting for. Like Sam used to always say, sitting in Tom's seat, you've got to depreciate things.
We're
and budget for it.
depreciating, but we're not putting the cash to match the depreciation. We're getting close to the electric because we don't have any debt in the electric. But we're dead heavy in the water and sewer, and there's a lot of moving parts over there. And that whole $1.6 million project, it could be argued as all depreciation costs because it's replacement of stuff. It's nothing new. It's not a new line. That to areas that hadn't been served, it's a replacement of old stuff that's 50 years old.
So
or
at what
60
point
years
will
old.
it end up catching up to the water and sewer to where it won't be a feasible service for the town of Blackstone to offer?
When we're not adding new customers? That's the way to get it dealt with, is to add customer
Add
base.
customers.
Sell more water to Arbortech or sewer to Arbortech. You gotta increase your customer base.
Get a hotel on board.
A hotel on
Yeah.
board. That's how you're gonna keep from getting stagnant. But the stagnation will occur if we stagnate and don't have new connections. And although hard to understand sometimes, and it's hard for me to understand and justify, but things like putting a new water line down Cox Road, you're not going to make your money in the first few years with what's existing, but you may make your money down the road when a gas station says, oh, or a restaurant or something else comes along and connects to your system. But those are investments, and we still have not heard from the county about whether they would allow us to serve the folks.
Mandatory connection.
We haven't heard anything, and I don't expect to hear anything anytime soon.
All right, so
You also, there's a, on the agenda, added to the agenda, is a plan for the.
Yeah,
town
we need-
reopening
how do-
utility payments.
So we're obviously, we've got to break into what, June 10th or June 14th?
14th, I think.
Whatever the SCC recommended. So does that mean the bill that you get on June 1 is due in full on June 30th
It's supposed to be without penalty or interest.
without penalty or interest? We just need to have these things written out. We need to have it in, we need to have our policy straightened out.
We need to come up with a policy on what we're gonna do
How
for
do you-
folks that are way behind.
Hey, and obviously no names, what's the highest bill that is outstanding now that are still on?
I don't think there's really any commercials that I'm immediately aware of. The big ones, we've lost two big customers in the past month or 2 months. Taylor Ramsey is closed. That was a big customer. And the customer out on
Showbest.
Church Street is Showbest. That's a big customer. So we gotta keep an eye on those. I'm not sure.
Closed down,
Showbest is closed.
not that you could ever find anybody there anyway, but I guess they had the lights on.
But they had a good light bill.
Yeah.
And so did Taylor Ramsey when it was operating. It was a good light bill. So we've taken a $16,000 a month hit right there with those two.
What about the school? Did we serve the elementary school?
We do provide the elementary school with electricity, but I don't think they're outstanding. I don't think they have a delinquent account. I think most of those delinquent fees are,
So my question is, all right, so everybody's
Does
bill will
somebody
be,
have $1,000 bill that they're.
or is it, 1,000, I think we can work with over a 3 to 6 month period. But if someone has a $2,500 bill, which wouldn't surprise me when this is all said and done,
I think you
because,
just say 6 months. Because the commercial, if somebody's got a $2,500 bill, it's unlikely it's a resident over 3 months or whatever that you hadn't paid your bill.
yeah,
Especially this time of year, your bills are low.
Lower.
January, December, February, somebody could run that up without too much trouble.
It really wasn't that, it was pretty mild winter.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I would just say 6 months for everybody. This is the period of time that you've got to pay it back. Maybe some can get paid quicker. And I can tell you, if you make it too quick,
No, they're not gonna be able to pay
people
it.
never gonna make it. Because they
But
gotta pay their existing.
The
bill
understanding
plus.
has to be if you do not pay, you can pay, if you pay your regular bill on time, but you do not pay your
Outstanding.
outstanding balance or the payment plan, in essence,
You're still delinquent.
you're delinquent and you can still get shut off.
Correct.
If you don't set up a plan.
If you
So
don't,
you're saying the current.
if you don't pay your, say if I owe $600 and we pay it over 6 months, so obviously we're not gonna charge interest, so it's $100 a month. If I pay my normal bill
$200 a month.
of $200 and I don't pay my $100,
Then
you're still delinquent, you still get on the cutoff list.
And we do payment plans now, and that's how it is. You don't live up to your payment plan,
Yeah,
you're good. But I think if you make it too short, you're gonna make it onerous and.
so we should just do it across the board and say, any outstanding balances, you have 6 months to pay.
Literally, by the 1st of January, they'll be paid.
Okay.
And so they would have to pay their current and whatever agreement they,
Their monthly allocation for that, yeah.
okay.
Just maybe January 1, 2021.
Do you
So-
want me
Obviously,
to draft up a policy,
Yeah.
so when we meet
We need to
right
have,
before the next council
Yeah.
meeting, you guys can look at that and
Yep.
see?
we need to have it in writing, even though obviously people know it's coming, we need to have it in writing so people will know.
What about your budget customers that are already, I know, because of the time, we just kind of paused on that, but we already have a policy in place for the budget customers that they were supposed to true up in April.
Correct.
You know, they've got carryover balances, what do you guys wanna do?
And we have not been adjusting those yet.
You just add that to
Let's wait till June
the
14th.
outstanding balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
June 14th, we'll do the reconciliation on that. That'll be the same time everybody else, the middle
Yeah.
of June, we'll do that. And,
I just would like probably to put like a little
it's
rider.
not a huge amount of money, it's only
For the,
30
Yeah.
customers.
Yeah, I think it's 36 customers
Yeah,
that we
it's
have
not a
enrolled or
tremendous
something
amount
like
of
that.
money, but we do need to get to it, but I've just put it on hold until such time. Okay. The other thing that I've put on hold is actually advertising for a tax sale. We have several properties that are delinquent in taxes. Several have been cleaned up, where payment plans have been established with the property owners. But I told Brittany to hold off on that. Do you have any guidance on when you would be comfortable when
When
So
when
in
is
June.
when is it typically that the county and us do that?
we would, well.
What time of year is it typically?
I can't say there's a standard time. It's just however often, and we're focusing more on not waiting on the county.
Gotcha.
If our stuff is delinquent, we're going on and sending it in.
Go ahead and
It used
do
to
it.
be where they try to coordinate, but we're just going on with it now. And we've got probably 3 or 4 properties that absolutely, people are deceased. We'll never get the
That
money.
are- yeah, it's
The
not
families
not
told me-
affecting an actual live-in resident right now or anything like that.
Several vacant lots. There's one in Taylor Bottom, one on Center Street, where the families come to me and say, we're just not gonna pay taxes anymore.
Yeah.
So, without being overbearing or giving the appearance of being, unpleasant, think about, and maybe on the week of the 11th of May, tell me if you're comfortable.
Shoot it for 15 June, like we're doing every
Yeah.
time.
15
I mean,
June.
I feel like at some point in time, we've got to venture back out and get back to a somewhat normal basis.
And this is, again, a huge amount of money. And remember, it's town taxes too. It's not county taxes, so it's half as much.
Yeah.
And, but there's a half a dozen properties
If
that
they're
are just,
delinquent on ours, aren't they delinquent on the county ones too?
Most likely.
typically they are. Not always, but sometimes they are. There was one on South Main Street that was not delinquent with the county, but was delinquent with
The electronic gaming thing.
Yep.
If there are any left around.
After all that.
Where will that money go?
I think it'll go to the state, and the state will distribute it back to
How
it.
will- Where will we put it? When it comes back to us, will it go into the general fund? Will it go?
It will go back into the general fund.
Get it?
If we want to earmark it for a specific purpose, we can even segregate it and stick it in that money market account and just let it sit there instead of sitting in a checking account.
But it's gonna be very hard until you get some as to budget
Right.
how many actually.
I wasn't even gonna propose
No.
that we look at
There
the
are-
budget item in there on it.
But until July
We
1,
won't see it.
when you on July 1st, when you actually see games still in certain businesses, then you can go, all right, now we can at least get a general idea. And then,
Tony Maton and I went last week to every business, and we checked in it. Chubby's has 2. There are 2 in Mitchell's. They said they were unplugged. We didn't go back and look at them.
well, yeah, but I mean, they're
They're
closed, so
physically
it's,
sitting there in
yeah.
Mitchell's, and then there's 4 in Racing, and that's all there is. Most people have gotten rid of them. Community Convenience got rid of his. Food Barn, Chris that runs Food Barn down there across from Food Line,
Yeah, I was gonna say there were some in there.
they're gone.
Kangaroo, they're gone.
Oh.
Vape store.
And the reason we're so sure is because Tony actually went to all the convenience stores and locations for these machines, and had them move them apart, 6 feet apart when all this got
Gotcha.
started. So he actually recognized that many of them were already gone, and then we went back the other day and went through them.
And that doesn't include what's at the two
Does not include that.
businesses, yeah.
Were they in the vape shop too?
Yeah,
Or
there were
next to the
there were
ABC
two
store?
there. I think they've been removed. I don't know if
Vape shop.
the vape store down at
One next to the ABC store on the left.
Gone. Yeah, they're not in there. Yeah.
Have you heard anything regarding any of our restaurants? I mean, are they?
I have
any of them
heard through the
contemplating
grapevine.
shutting down at all?
Heard through the grapevine, Candy's starting a partial opening.
Oh, she's
Or
actually.
a light
I went
opening
there
or something?
today and she was gangbusters. She,
Yeah.
I said, what's all this food? You got a gig going today or something? She said, no, we're taking orders on and
That's
people are
good.
coming out. We're handing.
I think if
handing
people
it.
Door
get
pickup
out there
or
and
whatever
offer
you-
their services, there are people that are wanting to spend money right now. They're just
I think there's some that are not gonna potentially reopen, but I think Candy is reopening. I haven't heard from Al and Barbara over at Farmers, and I haven't heard from the Mexican restaurant.
I'm
But
sure
the Mexican restaurant was gangbusters at one time.
Corner kitchen.
Hmm?
What's the corner kitchen doing?
Corner
Anything?
Kitchen, I haven't heard anything. We've had a few communications with them, but I haven't had any indication of a soft opening or takeout only type of thing. Which is a shame. That's a good place. You want to see good things happen right there.
I said something to Billy the other day, this doesn't have anything to do with this really, but it was something I saw on the internet, and it was where a town had taken, businesses had gotten together and said, hey, let's make a drive-in theater. And they set one up right in the parking lot of a couple of businesses, the businesses paid for to put up something, and then they just had a big speaker system, and then they had people drive in,
Mhm.
sit there, watch a movie. And I said, man, wouldn't this be cool? Why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we do that at Walmart or somewhere?
The only thing that I remember that's a little prickly about showing movies is you got to pay a license fee. Remember?
So there are movies
Went through all that.
don't require it. They're
Okay.
typically black and white movies, and that's what these guys have done. But I think, having dealt with those people through DVI, I would think I could call them and say, hey, can't you give us a half cost? You know, come on, man, we're trying to do something for our town.
We'll find a place to
Somebody
do it.
give us a bait. But Billy recommended some other location other than Walmart. I don't remember, maybe Taylor Ramsey.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, we'll figure something. That field over there next to Reese or something.
Where is Taylor Ramsey?
Northwest Avenue. It's that old brick kiln, the wood kiln on Northwest Avenue. The older building. Then there's a newer brick, that's
I
North
think the
American Reese.
purpose of this is to benefit your businesses that you're at, correct? If I'm I don't
Maybe you
know.
do it at Bevel's parking lot.
That's a town parking lot. Yeah, you can.
Do it at Bevel's parking lot, and then people could park in that whole parking lot after hours. And owned by the town, and
The screen. And if you could bring in a tractor trailer, you could hang a,
sheet across the side of it.
Bingo sheet.
and it would.
Hey, Robbie's got that transfer truck and that gondola. Maybe we can get him to set it up there. Who knows?
I don't know, it was just something I was thinking about, would that be something that people would even wanna do? I don't know.
Maybe start it on a small scale, like at Bevel's parking lot. If it grows,
In that
Do something
town,
different.
I'm doing it because everybody got all excited.
would you be willing to do some legwork? Yeah, I'll work with you on it and see if we can maybe start small, 50 spaces or something, and see what we can do. And if it doesn't work,
Yeah.
then you're not out anything. You
Maybe
haven't.
they could order
We get a
food
PA
too from
system
the
like what
car
Walter Mackey
from these
uses.
restaurants.
The one we used to use for DBI, that's the fire department's, isn't
For
it?
what?
That PA system, isn't that the fire department's one that we use?
It ain't the town's. Ours is kind of small.
I'm not
DBI?
sure. I can't remember.
I think it was.
But
'Cause
we
Mac-
also have
Mac used to always.
Chris
borrow it.
Page has helped the town. I mean,
Oh,
we
that's
can.
true too. Because it doesn't have to be huge. I mean, when we use that one at DBI in the
Yeah.
square, it worked great.
I'll work with you on it, see if we can maybe pull one off, and if it stinks it up, then we won't do it again. Yeah, what the heck? And make it a drive-through, so literally people don't have to congregate in the square or something. The square would be perfect, you just show it up on the wall and everybody be,
But then you gotta worry about
too many people to
three
get.
people, social distancing,
So
everything else.
the
10 people.
just get a rough policy drawn up, just so we can advertise, put it on our Facebook page, whatever, so people know that come June 30th, your June 1 bill is due in full, and whatever payment plan you work out.
I'll probably draft it up and let y'all look at it, and then we'll the week of May 11th. I'd like to
The big
see
thing
it.
is just people know that we'll break it down into 6 months. That's what we'll recommend to council. We obviously, Tom and I don't have the authority, but we'll recommend to council that we'll give 6 months to pay back any outstanding
Okay,
balances on utility bills.
You need a motion for that? No, we don't need.
not yet. I'll
And
draft
if
it
you
up
do
then-
get cut off, do you gotta pay the whole amount to get cut back on?
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Yep. We want to work with them, with everybody, so
What's the latest on UMAC?
Crickets.
dead.
I don't think that, I will go on record and say that the folks that are interested in ViewMac are very good at what they do, and they do this kind of work. They're hospitality folks, and I think they're the right folks. They did ask for some extension time on the contract of purchase to kind of get through this. I think they own over a dozen other hotels, and they want to, and I'm sure their occupancy is down dramatically right now. So. The utilities,
Distillery.
distillery. The whole thing came about as a out of the blue phone call from a gentleman that I don't think they live in town. They live outside of town. It's one of the Doran boys, Lance Doran. They do have a business in town, and Lance called up and said, "I got an idea, and I want to check on this building and that building and maybe some different ideas." And I think he settled on that particular location because he could lease it and it was big enough and spans were enough. And I think he's got some